Why do you think people love Caitlin Clark besides her skills?
She can shoot threes from logo.
We never seen that before. That's my point.
The reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person, it's because of me too, and I want y'all to realize.
Why is it that people can't stop talking about Caitlin Clark? Is it really just her logo range threes, or is there something else going on here? Because sure, she can launch bombs from half court and make it look like a free throw, but that doesn't explain the obsession. And here's the twist. While everyone's busy putting Caitlin on the women's basketball Mount Rushmore, another voice breaks through saying, "Hold up, the reason y'all are watching isn't just because of her, it's because of me too." And when that voice belongs to Angel Reese, the Bayou Barbie turned WNBA star, suddenly the whole conversation changes. That's when Shaquille O'Neal, the very man who anointed Reese as the future face of Reebok, detonates a bombshell that no one saw coming. As president of basketball at Reebok, he reportedly pulled the plug on her jaw-dropping $52 million deal. Just like that, the signature shoe, the empire-building partnership, the crown jewel of Reebok's rebrand, gone. Why would Shaq, her mentor, her LSU godfather, the man who called her the GOAT, yank the rug out from under her? Was it betrayal? Was it business? Or was it something deeper about the way sneaker empires rise and fall? Let's slow this down and set the stage. Because to understand how we got to this shocking cancellation, you need to see how high the stakes were. Back in 2023, when Shaq returned to Reebok not as a nostalgia piece but as the actual president of basketball, people thought it was cute at first. A legend coming home to the company that made his Shaqnosis sneakers in the 90s. But Shaq wasn't joking. He didn't just want to sell retro shoes, he wanted to storm the gates of Nike's empire. This was David staring down Goliath, except David was 7'1", weighed 325 pounds, and laughed like a cartoon villain. To back him up, he installed Allen Iverson as vice president, forming the most chaotic front office duo in sneaker history. And they were serious. Reebok was dead last in basketball market share, not even in the top 7, and Shaq wanted to flip the script. His pitch was simple but audacious. Bring culture back. Partner with athletes who weren't just players but movements. That's where Angel Reese came in. By 2023, Angel wasn't just a player, she was a walking headline. At LSU, she averaged double-doubles like it was breathing, taunted Caitlin Clark with the infamous ring finger gesture, and turned a national championship into the most viral moment women's basketball had ever seen. She wasn't just dominant, she was unapologetic. She was loud, stylish, polarizing, and that's exactly what made her magnetic. Shaq knew it. He called her the GOAT, signed her to Reebok's first major NIL deal, and promised she'd help resurrect a brand people had forgotten. And here's where the expectation meets reality. People thought Reese was just another flashy player getting a shoe deal. In reality, she was the cornerstone of Shaq's billion-dollar bet to bring Reebok back to life. The partnership took off. Fast. By 2024, Reebok had rolled out the Reebok by Angel collection, shoes with feminine flair, crop tops that sold out in minutes, a vibe that blurred the line between runway and hardwood. Then came the announcement of her 2026 signature shoe, only the second Reebok ever gave to a WNBA player after Rebecca Lobo back in 1997. Angel debuted the Engine A, Reebok's first performance basketball shoe in over a decade, and it was tied perfectly to her Chicago Sky identity: sky blue, clouds, ambition in material form. It wasn't just a shoe, it was a statement. Angel Reese wasn't here to be compared to Caitlin Clark. She was here to own her own lane. Fans bought in. Critics paid attention, and Reebok looked alive again. So how do we get from there to a $52 million deal vanishing into thin air? This is where Shaq's bold vision collides with brutal financial reality. Reebok, despite the headlines, was still playing catch-up in a sneaker war dominated by Nike, Jordan, Adidas, and upstarts like New Balance. Shaq wanted stars like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander but couldn't afford the $60 million his agents demanded. Angel, with her LSU connection, her rookie buzz, and her cultural influence, was the perfect cost-effective star. Except, cost-effective turned into a $52 million commitment, and the Reebok board started sweating bullets. The company had just spent millions locking in an official WNBA partnership, was trying to revive classics like the Shaqnosis, and didn't have Nike's war chest to back it up. To Shaq, Angel was an investment in the future. To the board, she was a liability draining their present. That's when whispers started. Budget cuts, boardroom battles, a tug of war between vision and balance sheets, and the outcome? Shaq pulling the plug. Now here's where the drama sharpens. Angel's reaction. On her podcast, Unapologetically Angel, she didn't mince words. She said she gave Reebok everything, her heart, her style, her game. If they didn't see her worth, she'd take it somewhere else. And let's be real, the line of suitors would stretch around the block. Nike, Puma, Adidas, brands with deeper pockets and stronger infrastructure, would happily scoop up a cultural icon with 1.2 million Instagram followers, a record-breaking rookie season, and a loyal fan base that buys whatever she puts her name on. So why would Reebok risk losing her? Because sneaker companies aren't charities. They are ruthless empires that measure athletes not by loyalty or cultural buzz, but by quarterly profit margins. And in that cold equation, Angel became expendable. But before you think this is just about money, let's zoom out. Angel Reese isn't just a sneaker story. She's a resilience story. From her driveway battles in Baltimore with her brother, Julian, to breaking her foot as a college freshman at Maryland, to transferring to LSU for a bigger stage, she's always been about comebacks. She built a brand on being unapologetic, on pointing to her ring finger when the world thought she was being too much. She faced backlash, racialized hate, personal struggles with mental health, and still came back stronger. Her Met Gala. Appearances, her foundation work empowering young girls, her ownership stake in a soccer team, these aren't side notes. They're the blueprint of someone building a legacy bigger than basketball. That's what Shaq saw. That's why this hurts. Because if even her mentor couldn't shield her from the cold logic of corporate survival, then what does that say about the business side of women's sports? And yet, here's the open loop. This might not be the end. Insiders whisper that the deal isn't dead, just frozen. That negotiations are still ongoing for a scaled-down contract. That maybe Shaq is playing chess, cutting back in order to save the brand and still keep Angel in the fold. Because let's face it, without her, Reebok's revival feels like a punchline. She was the bridge between Shaq's 90s nostalgia and the Gen Z wave Reebok desperately needs. Lose her, and the whole campaign risks collapsing. Keep her, and maybe, just maybe, Shaq's insane gamble of toppling Nike doesn't look so insane. So where does this leave us? With a cliffhanger, Angel Reese is still only 23. She's already broken WNBA records, won a national championship, become a fashion icon, a businesswoman, a cultural lightning rod. Whether she wears Reebok, Nike, Puma, or her own brand, she's not going away. In fact, this whole mess might only add fuel to her fire. And Shaq? He's still swinging, trying to drag Reebok out of the graveyard of sneaker brands. Maybe he looks like the villain today, but if this move keeps the company alive long enough for Angel to get her shoe on different terms, history might call it genius. And here's the reality check. The expectation was simple. Angel Reese was supposed to get her dream signature shoe, become Reebok's savior, and we'd all cheer. The reality? Business is ruthless, dreams get delayed, and sometimes the very people who lift you up have to cut you down. But that doesn't mean the story's over. If you've learned anything from Angel's journey, it's that every setback is just set up for a comeback. And if you want to see how this comeback unfolds, make sure you stick around. Because the next chapter in this saga isn't one you'll want to miss.